Hi, I'm Terry Murphy from the Women's Wisdom Network, the senior editor for Realty Times Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, and in the men's room with Murph. And today we have a powerhouse in women in real estate. This woman is amazing. Her name is Judy LaDeur. She is the president and and founder of Judy LaDeur International. She is the queen of all things recruiting. She has always done that, and she's done it extremely well. Started in our business as a salesperson, and then just never stopped. Welcome, Judy LaDeur.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
International is not a joke. The woman has been all over the world. How many countries?
I've trained in about somewhere between 17 and 20 different countries, which is really fun.
Did you have an interpreter, or do you just good at all those languages?
Definitely have an interpreter. I even have my favorite interpreters, and they make my job so easy.
Oh, wow. Isn't that just terrific? Well, you and I go way back, and way,
Way back.
yeah, and you were training and working with other brokers here in this country, and then you joined forces with the great Floyd Wickman
Yes.
and rapid fire recruiting and really honed your skills there. And went
Right.
off on your own as a keynote, what, 92 was
About
given
92, right?
and you've been also awarded the distinguished 25 most influential women in real estate. You've made a real impact on recruiting. Now, recruiting has changed.
It has.
I'm not going to denigrate the industry with saying it wasn't all, it was more volume, and things have significantly changed. Tell us in your words what you're seeing lately with recruiting, because I know you just came back from another event. Tell us what's happening in the world of recruiting and what we want to know about smart recruiting.
Great. Obviously, the obvious thing that's changed in the last year with regard to recruiting is COVID. And so maybe we'll address that a little bit later because COVID has basically kept us from being face to face with those candidates, and it's really been a challenge for brokers. So I've worked with a lot of brokers, become comfortable with that. But I think if we look at recruiting in general, the world of recruiting, we saw a lot of significant changes starting to take place around 3 years ago. And it's based on the fact that we as an industry we're a ratings industry, right? The world is based on ratings. And we hadn't really felt that in recruiting until about 3 years ago, but suddenly through a lot of statistics, a lot of studies that were being done, what suddenly showed up was that the world of recruiting is also based on relationships and ratings more than it's ever been before. And so what this means is it's not just a numbers game anymore. And I say that from the standpoint of a lot of people have always said, you contact a certain number of agents and you just keep stuff in front of them. And then ultimately, when the timing's right, they're going to join you. That is no longer the case. Unfortunately, brokers do have to engage with those agents if they want to be part of their team. They have to build that relationship. They have to connect with them on multiple social media platforms. And there has to be a personal connection there between them and the broker, as well as them and some of the agents in their offices. So agents are making the same decisions about where they're going, if you're an existing agent, based on the relationship that they have with the broker. When it comes to new agents who don't have the opportunity to have that relationship with the broker, being able to have video testimonials from your agents, results from other new agents that have joined, the same type of a thing that someone's looking at on Amazon when they're buying a lawnmower. It's how many people have had a positive experience, and what are what are their ratings. New agents are looking at the same thing. They want to know what are the results that others have had, what are the ratings of this broker, this brokerage, and things of that nature. So that's been the big change.
Well, I think today sales has always been leadership, but don't you think the emphasis is on if you're a broker and you can help me grow my business, that of course, leverages itself to the entire brokerage. So how has the selection process changed in recruiting from sign here, here's a book, here's a phone, go at it?
The selection process has also really changed in that it's a very customized selection process now. And that really goes right back to the questions. I was just on a call with one of my coaching clients, and we had coached several years ago. Then he was doing great, and now it's probably been 5, 6, 7 years since we worked together. And one of the things that he recognized right away was that it's not just sit in front of a candidate and spiel out all your stuff. So the process is to almost think in reverse. What do I have that another brokerage doesn't have? What am I doing better than what they're doing? A complete understanding of what you bring to the table for the agents that are the right agents for your firm. And then when you're sitting in front of that agent, asking customized questions of that agent that literally point to your systems. And so what I tell brokers is this: if and it doesn't matter what you're doing, whatever it is, when you have to take 20, 30 minutes to talk to that agent and basically say, what do you want and why? What do you have now and what are you looking for? So that there's a true understanding of what they have or don't have now, what they need, and then how it can connect to you. So the presentation is very customized to each individual agent, which means that you can't just memorize your spiel and throw it in front of every agent and think it's going to work.
Especially with the difference between ages and demographics and experience and whatever. But do you notice or do you see that there is a different tone for um, not just what is the agent saying to the broker who's hiring, what can you do for me? Most everybody thinks they need leads when in fact they need systems. Is
Right.
there a different kind of agreement? Is there more of a core culture match? Is the recruiting management looking for a specific kind of individual where before it was just somebody who's sales oriented?
I do think so. And I think that, again, that starts with identifying what you do best as a brokerage and who your best candidate is. So, for example, I do have brokerages that say, hey, listen, I want the agents doing 2 to 5 deals a year. That's my sweet spot because I know how to take them from here to here. But if you put me in front of a 20 deal a year agent, I'm freaked out. I don't even feel like I can recruit them. So it's true that some people are really good at coaching agents up. Some have incredible marketing platforms. They have maybe in-house technology directors and in-house marketing people. So when you understand what you have, then there are ways to identify who's going to be the best agent for you, not just based on production, but in many cases, the company that they're currently with. So for example, if I have a company in the marketplace that's very similar to me in the type of organization that they are and the tools and systems and support that they offer, if they've got 100 agents who like it there, um, then those 100 agents also become a pretty good target for me because I already know that there's certain things that they like that I'm going to be able to offer them.
One of the things that you talk about though is what to say or not say in the interview process. I would imagine
Right.
that just saying what your commission split tells me too much about you, if
Right.
whether or not I want you on my team. So, can you give us an
Right.
example of like what not to say?
A lot of the work that I do with brokers is based on behavior, and it's based around the DISC platform, which you're also very familiar with, Terry. And so when we look at what to say or not to say, a lot of it is DISC related. And for example, most brokers will say to every single agent, I'm going to take your business from here to here, and you're going to do this much business. Well, for the S personality, for you to set their expectation and for you to tell them what they're going to do is the fastest way for them to shut down and decide that you're not the best fit for them because they're never going to let you down. And brokers have a hard time getting their head around that, thinking, well, why wouldn't everyone want to do more business? Well, because each behavior pattern has its own priorities. And for the S, it's not necessarily having, $500,000 a year income. Their priority is family and balance and relationships. So it's
Exactly.
more about, I would say the quick answer to that is don't tell them what you're going to do for them unless you first identified it as something that is truly what they want. And that's a real easy thing for brokers to do.
That is a real smart move because we, especially in sales, usually very high eyes. And for those of you that aren't familiar with discs, that is the influencer, high reactive, high responsive on one side of the grid
Right.
with the dominants or drivers for Myers-Briggs. And the other side's a little more pragmatic, a little slower to make the decisions, more thoughtful about it. Thank you. Thank you for those kinds. But at the end of
Structured and organized, right?
yeah, give me the spreadsheet. so
Right.
so it makes sense that one size does not fit all, and I think that's a real smart um, punctuation of what we need to share here. The other thing is
Right.
that agents tend to fail in the first 6 months. I'm not talking about somebody who's already seasoned, but we're going to find a lot of, well, we know for a fact, according to Riz Media and numbers, that people are blowing into the real estate industry like crazy because of all the shifts
Right,
and changes and takeovers and eliminations of different businesses. And it looks pretty simple from the
right.
outside. So
It
why do
could.
they fail in the first 6 months, in your opinion?
A lack of structure, a lack of a plan, and a lack of accountability. And this is another thing that brokers really have a hard time with is this whole term of independent contractor. And a lot of brokers tell me, well, you can't tell an agent to do anything, because they can do whatever they want. Well, that's not true. Their independent contractor status, has to do with their taxable status and how they work. But as a broker, when a new agent's coming on board, if you have a plan of action that they're going to follow for those first 6 months, and you get their commitment up front, I call it a partnership agreement. The partnership agreement simply says, if you and I are going to work together, here's some expectations that we have, and here's the things that you'll be asked to do as a member of our team. And if you get their commitment, their signature that says, yes, I'll agree to take this sort of training, I'll agree to meet with the broker on, every other Wednesday, different things of that nature, that is your plan of action for that agent. And it is the number one reason that agents fail is they don't know what to do. They've never been in business for themselves. And given the option to fail, most people will. It's just easier to fail than succeed, especially in the first 6 months, because it's so hard.
Well, if there's a whole behavioral change, especially if you've been in a corporate job where there are certain, key performance indicators that are already established. Real estate, like you said, everybody thinks it's independent. So not.
Right.
And you talk about the first 5 days. So if I was listening to this and I wanted to do better at recruiting, besides hire you to help me, what happens in that first 5 days? Is it the habits? Is it the day structure? What is it?
The first 5 days of a brand new agent's real estate career. Well,
Yes.
I'll tell you what I did as a broker, and it definitely knocks them in or knocks them out pretty quickly. And I told them right up front, your first 5 days will be committed to 5 different forms of prospecting. So every morning you will need to be here at 9 o'clock. That's when I'm here. We're going to have you watch some DVDs, some links of people that are experts in 5 different ways of prospecting. And each day you'll learn one way of prospecting. And then your job for the remainder of the day until it occurs is to secure an appointment. And then we're going to teach you the 5 most effective methods at this time as far as securing appointments. And then as you move towards the remainder of the month, you get to choose which one you want. And it's really funny because, brokers are always like, yeah, but, aren't they afraid of rejection? And here's the funny thing. A brand new agent on day one is not afraid of rejection. In fact, it's actually the only time in the real estate career they're not afraid of rejection. Here's what they're afraid of. Someone's going to say yes. So they're like calling and they're just like, please say no, please say no. Because they don't know what to do. So I let them know, you're going to have to team them up with a mentor. You're going to, have to go out with them. But if you can teach them that this business about prospecting and building your business in that first week, if they're not cut out for it, they'll quit by Wednesday or Thursday at the latest.
Well,
Um,
that really saves time, money, and energy because we don't have enough time to invest all that in somebody who doesn't perform. Well, let's just say they're 6 months into it. Do you have in your recruiting program some kind of measurement so that we can see that they are committed, that there is some advancement, some skill advancement, some advancement of confidence? Uh, Clearly, it's not a business that gives you a trophy every day.
right,
It's unfortunately the days just roll because it's a very reactive business versus structured.
right.
And so by showing them the structure up front, you really do a great service to them to get them in the habits of prospecting, which is what they really do. But you also talk about what would happen in 6 months
Right.
if they're not, if they're not committing to the integrity of their commitment.
Well, I think that first off, the measuring tool that I always suggest to brokers that they implement, which I did, geez, years ago, is that that you have to place the expectation because you're the expert. And so my expectation has always been and still is every brand new agent should do an average of a transaction a month their first year. So they're going to end up with 12 transactions. And I do teach brokers how to get agents productive in their first 30 days in the business. In fact, that is one of the things I've done internationally quite a bit. Now, again, what is it? It's accountability and direction. So it's not that hard. But that is one of the things that they understand up front is they'll know if they're doing the right activities and the right amount of activities because it's going to show up in the results. And so I always ask this question, and yeah, because I get everything, as far as excuses on why their market, it's not reasonable. But I always say, well, listen, let me ask you something. Have you ever been to Tony Robbins event? So why do people walk across hot coals in their bare feet at a Tony Robbins event? The simple answer is because they believe they can. So they
Exactly.
spend days with this guy who says, look, I'm just telling you, you can do it. And so because they believe they can do it, they do. And that's the whole premise behind my training program for agents is that I am the expert. So everything that I say, every single word from my mouth to their ears is if you do this, you'll have a listing. If you do this, this will happen for you. If you do this, this will happen. And because I'm the expert and I can deliver that with confidence and show the results, they believe that it'll work. And their belief system is a big part of being able in 6 months to have their career just taking off.
So you're saying that if I was listening to this or watching it as a broker manager, we have to be careful with that word these days.
Right.
As a management person hiring or recruiting agents, having this big bonus to sign on is probably not the right way to go.
I've never believed in sign-on bonuses. They've been around since the 80s, quite honestly. So it's not anything new. They just reemerge every now and then. I think the big thing is this. I look at it like baseball. So, when you are a baseball player and you're on a team, okay, like, you've been drafted on a team, you're on this team. But what we've seen in the last few years is they'll be given these huge bonuses and these contracts that say you have to be on this team for 2 years. And what is their mentality? Their mentality is I have to be here in 2 years, but in 2 years I can leave because of my contract term is up. Now I'm a free agent and I can just put myself out there. That's what I'm seeing from agents in this past year or two that were on 2-year contracts, 3-year contracts, 4-year contracts, is that the whole time they're with the company, they are literally thinking, I have to serve out my contract and then I become a free agent once again. So I'm out there looking for where's the next place I'm going to go. So I don't think it's worked out as well as they thought. I mean, if I'm the company that's giving them right on bonuses, I'm thinking, okay, all I have to do is make sure that they love being here in 2 years, 3 years from now, and they'll stay. But I don't see that happening as much as I think that they thought it would. There's a lot more to keeping an agent than just writing them a check.
And that's so smart. Let's just talk for a moment about differentiation. So, and I know because we've written most of the courses for different franchises. The training is there, the but the coaching element that keeps someone interested to me is a value piece.
Right.
As you and I both know, everybody, a lot of these people listening, you all have some kind of exercise equipment in your home, and God knows it hadn't been used in a long time except for drying lingerie. So we know that tools and systems and platforms are there. And the one complaint that most broker owners have is that they don't avail themselves of those tools.
Right.
It's a real value if you're looking at actually building a business instead of just making transactions. In your opinion, what's the best way to approach that? Or what have you seen be most successful about, everybody has tools, and yeah, how do you differentiate that? And what would be the reason that I wouldn't want to leave in 2 years?
Well, the number one thing is when their success is connected to your tools and systems, you are less likely to lose them. Okay. And I hear this from agents all the time. And so whether it's the brand that they feel there's value in and it brings value to their business, whether it's that in-house marketing person that helps them stay connected to the client database, that in-house tech person, the leads that your company's providing, whatever it is, when the agent relies on what you provide as a company, it is a great magnet to keep them connected. The dangerous thing, and I think it's really been dangerous this past year, is that because of COVID, everyone's had to go home. And because everyone's gone home and they've had to set up their own little offices and they're operating in their own little world, I think that's really been tough. And I think that retention is the next big wave that we're going to see in the back half of this year, meaning I'm telling brokers now, bring them back into the office. What can you do to reconnect with your agents? What can you do to get that team camaraderie, that spirit back? And again, have them see value in being with you. But Yeah, it's just, anytime I hear someone say, oh, this agent, they work from home, they never come in, they don't really use any of our stuff, they don't really care. To me, that's a huge red flag because
Great.
there's no connection.
Well, and that's the whole piece, the whole part of collaborative. When we, just like you said, a baseball team, it's not one person; it's the entire team's
Right.
skill advancement, cohesiveness, vision. It all has to resonate, and
Right.
you do that so well. Now, I know that you put this together in a course. Is this the profitable recruiter we're talking about?
Yeah, so well, there's a couple of different things right now. We have the Profitable Recruiter, which is basically our training course. We also have Achieving Mastery Performance, which is our newest online training course, which is also done in person when we can. Pretty excited. Like I said, I just came back from an in-person event. I've already just recently booked 4 more in-person events over the summer. So I'm really excited that people are bringing people in. I'm getting to get out. But it's just a matter of, most of our training versus coaching, most of our training starts at step number one, and we're looking at every single aspect from systems to tools to marketing to interview prep to various interviews and objections and things of that nature. Whereas coaching is for someone who has been trained, knows what to do, but the results aren't there.
And then that helps us as coaches determine where we need to give them the support.
Exactly. Right.
I don't care what kind, what kind of the commission splits or tools or whatever, but when people feel a part of something bigger than themselves,
Right.
they want to stay.
They do.
Well,
They
I
do.
know that you have many, many programs. I know that you're also a coach. Tell us a little bit about your coaching program.
I love coaching. I mean, coaching is, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. There are distractions in life that get us away from that. One of my favorite quotes about coaching is from Tiger Woods, who was asked just a few years ago, like, why do you still have a coach, one of the best in the world? To which he replied, because I can't see my own swing. And that's what a lot of the clients that reach out to me remind me of. A lot of my clients have been clients for 20, 30 years. I mean, since I started. And they always, they'll send someone to me whose game's just off. And so my job is to look at everything that they're doing as that outside party to say, hey, you know what? You're a little off track here. Or seems to me like you've got into this habit of just doing this 20-minute spiel without any interaction from them. You're just talking at them. You're not engaging with them. We need to fix that. So coaching is just that ability to look at everything and say, hey, you know what? You've picked up a couple of bad habits here. Let's work on that and fine tune that a little bit.
Course adjustments. So I know that profitable recruiters, but a 2 day or a 3 day.
We have actually a 2-day and a 3-day program.
Okay.
And the difference is some of our clients are really good at recruiting new agents. So they just want the focus to be on existing agents. We have other clients that do want us to evaluate what they're doing with new, the accountability for new, the production of new agents, and a lot of that. So the 3-day takes the new in consideration. It also adds more role play. So in both classes, we do role playing of the skills that are being taught, but there's more role play involved in the 3 days.
And that's something I'd like to just speak to for just a minute. Remember, a lot of people will be rolling their eyes, so stop it. When we talk about role playing, because they're like, well, I don't want to say somebody else's words. But when
Right.
you get reflexive about understanding why the question's being asked, then
Mm.
you can offer, I like to say, safety or comfort. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Right. And role play is two things. Role play, part of it is that here's what you should be saying. Okay. Now again, it doesn't mean that you have to sound exactly like Judy, but sometimes one or two words can really change the context of what you're saying. So if I give them, okay, I want this script, and then I want to hear you say it, they can say just one or two words differently, and I'll look at the group and I'll say, so how did that sound to you? And there's surprise people being, oh, very confrontational, or oh, I didn't like that, felt very uncomfortable. Great. So let's change this word to that. And then how does it feel? Good. Once you've done something several times, the repetition will cause it to naturally be you, but still get the point across. But the other role play is, once you've trained someone, is to see if they've got it. And that we do that a lot with the interview process. And again, it takes a lot of practice to develop a new skill, and a lot of these skills that we're teaching are new. And the only way I know if they are if they're getting it and applying it correctly is to hear what they're saying. And yeah, a really funny story. I won't say his name, even though he's always laughs and says, "Tell everyone I don't care. They know how I am." But we had a very strong D personality, very strong D personality. So for someone that doesn't know, they move fast. It's about
You're
keeping
correct.
control. And if
Yes.
you don't answer quickly enough for them, they're answering for you. So at the end of the training, he said, "Look, LaDeur, the stuff's not working." And I said, "Well, okay. So tell me what's happening and why are you feeling that way?" And he said, "Well, I had like 8 interviews and I didn't sign anybody up." So I said, "Well, actually, that's not good. And so let's kind of can we review?" And he goes, "Better than that, I recorded one here, so you can just hear what I'm saying, so that you know that I did it correctly." I said, "Okay, well, let me hear it." So he starts to ask the questions, and he would say, "So, what are you looking for in a company? Probably more money, right? So that's what everybody's looking for. How about what are you unhappy with your brokerage? Well, based on the fact that I know a lot of things about it, you're probably thinking this. And then what would you be looking for other than money? I mean, obviously marketing, right? And leads, because everyone." So, and I could hear this little voice in the background going, ah. So, and at 20 minutes in, he had still not allowed the guy to say anything. So I said, "Well, listen, I think I know what the problem is. Like, why didn't you let him talk?" Because he's not answering fast enough. Besides, I already know everything that he's going to say anyway, so I don't need to listen to his answers. Now, this is a guy who went through training. Okay, his first application was in his mind, "I know what they want." And you know what? That's how brokers feel. They tell me that all the time. I don't need to ask them what their answers are. I know what their answers are. I don't need this. I already know. And that's just not true. So it is funny that when I listen to what someone's doing, whether it's in the class or in a coaching scenario, it's very easy for me to figure out why it's not working the way that they want it.
Unfortunately, we tend to be, especially as teachers or as people who've been in the business practitioners for years, that we know what they want. When in fact, when we listen with all 7 active listening skills, we
Right.
don't. Yeah, and then add gender and age and digiphrenia to that. People don't hear. We have to assume that they do. So listening is absolutely key. So Judy, you have so much good information, and your experience is off the charts.
Thank you.
Your ability to bring it down to home, bring it down to tactical step by step is priceless. Tell us how to best reach you for both speaking, coaching, consulting, and for these workshops.
Thank you. Thank you. I would love that. I'm pretty easy to find. If you go on my website is judyladeur.com. So as long as you actually either spell my name correctly or you don't, I even own the site that has it misspelled. But it is Judy LaDeur, LADEUR.com is my website. You can contact me direct via my email, which is judy@judyladeur.com. And my phone number, if you want to reach out to me and have a conversation about what might be best for you, you can reach out at 630-222-3324.
So I know you do workshops that can
Yes,
are both virtual and in person. And then
correct.
as a speaker, you're fun, you're funny. I've been through your courses. It's truly a gift to the industry, and I'm so glad you joined us. I hope you'll join us again for another segment of Women
Yes.
in Real Estate, because you definitely are one of the influential women in real estate. I'm Terry Murphy for the Women's Wisdom Network. Thank you, Judy, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Terry. Bye bye.